Hello, and welcome to the second installment in the webinar series, What You Need to Know for Remote Working with Microsoft Teams. The series is hosted by Harmony and Solutions to Share. Today's webinar shares the best strategies of Teams governance and how to avoid uncontrolled growth. Before we begin the webinar, I would like to introduce the webinar sponsors, Harmony and Solutions to Share. From Harmony, we have David Lavenda, Harmony's Chief Product Officer. David, please.
Yeah, thanks, Maya. Just a few words about Harmony before I turn it over to Christian for the full presentation. So Harmony has been a premier supplier of solutions for bringing emails and documents from Outlook to SharePoint and now to Microsoft Teams. There's a big need now as we move forward of connecting conversations that are happening in Outlook and conversations happening in Teams, and Harmony provides a very simple drag and drop capability between the two of them. We've been for Teams, we've provided this capability for SharePoint, enabling organizations to get important emails and documents into SharePoint so they're centrally located and available for colleagues to be able to use. So for things like account management, project management, email management, case management, lots of business situations where emails and documents are important to be able to be referenced by colleagues and included in emails sent out to folks. We have over 1,600 enterprise customers who are using the solution for a variety of different business cases, as I mentioned. And we've built a solution together with Microsoft over the years, having been a very close partner with Microsoft for generations of product development, both the desktop and our mobile product, our web-based product. As we've belonged to a number of the different programs, Microsoft partner programs, as well as winning several app awards over the years. Now, one of the business cases, maybe next slide, please. So the business cases that I described, again, account management, project management, email management, case management, these are all types of business cases that happen in many, many different verticals. So you see that Harmony has quite a few leading companies in a wide variety of vertical markets. Anytime when emails and documents are important, they have to be maintained, captured, and classified so they can be shared and available for things like audits. Harmony is the partner to go to. Now, one of the business cases that we see quite a lot is contract management. So maybe we go to the next slide. I'd like to highlight one customer, which is DRAS. It's a company that makes hyperbaric chambers for a variety of different markets, including those to build for oxygen therapy, which is being now, these solutions are being used in COVID-19 treatment. So Harmony is proud to be enabling DRAS to build the systems that help COVID-19 patients. And what DRAS is doing is what a lot of customers do is they, of course, in a manufacturing environment, you have lots of components and suppliers and contracts to manage with all these folks, and making sure that all the documents are kept in order. Everybody's working on the latest version of the document. Everything's checked in, checked out, and classified according to customers so that or suppliers, so that everything can be stored in a single place in SharePoint, and using the metadata and classification schemes, being able to find that information when necessary. DRAS is now moving to Teams, like many companies, and Harmony will continue to support them as they move to Teams. And again, as we connect conversations in Outlook and conversations in Teams by dragging and dropping between the two applications. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Maya to introduce Christian, a speaker for today.
Thank you, David. I will introduce the Solutions to Share speaker in just a moment. But first, a couple of housekeeping items. You're welcome to submit questions at any time using the chat window on your screen. We'll address them during the Q&A session at the end of today's webinar. If we don't manage to answer all of your questions, someone will follow up with you shortly via email. We'll also make a recording of this webcast available to you within a couple of days. Let me introduce you to today's speaker, Christian Gross, CEO of Solutions to Share. Christian has 8 years of experience in provisioning and creating software solutions for Microsoft Teams, Office 365 and SharePoint in his role as CEO of Solutions to Share. He is a Microsoft Certified Technology Specialist and Microsoft Certified SharePoint Developer. He's passionate about new development and uses his long-standing expertise to create solid Microsoft SharePoint solutions, helping customers from medium-sized businesses up to large corporations optimize their processes and keep control of their teams every day. Christian, please.
Hi, and thank you for that nice introduction. Before we start with the Governance Beginner's Guide, I want to say a couple of words about my company, Solutions to Share. Solutions to Share is founded in 2011, and we are focusing in building Microsoft solution. And as Harmony, we are also a Microsoft Gold partner. And for our development, we have a certificate from the vendor Rencor. And here are some key facts about Solutions to Share. We are based in Germany, in the nice Bavaria. We are actual 18 employees. We have over 15,000 installations with all our tools. So if you want to try one of our tools, you can have a look in the SharePoint App Store or now also in the Microsoft Teams App Store. And in a few minutes, you are ready to start to try our tools like the Teams Manager, what I want to show you today, or a couple of different apps like News Ticker or download solutions. We began developing for the cloud 5 years ago, so really early adopters, and we are very happy to start so early so that we can introduce you now the best tools for Microsoft SharePoint and Microsoft Teams for provisioning and governance. So the history of Solutions to Share began in 2010, where we started to develop the Collaboration Manager, one of our first provisioning tools. And as you can see here in my slide, we have provisioning and governance tools for every platform which is available today. So for SharePoint 2010, 13, 16, 19, also, we have a solution for SharePoint Online and modern and classic sites or Office 365 groups. And what I want to show you today, of course, for Microsoft Teams as well. So if you think about solutions for governance and provisioning in the Office 365 or now a Microsoft 365 environment, then you can ask me or one of my colleagues. A short overview about another tools is one of our meeting manager products. So also we have a product for SharePoint or Teams to organize meetings, and we have a tool what aggregate all your document templates in one list or one place, and you can create a document based on this template in Teams, in every team or in every document library in SharePoint. So if you're interested in one of these solutions, have a look on our website and you can ask for a trial. So before we start with our governance guide, I have a short question for you. So we start a poll. And I want to ask you if you are using Teams right now, or if you are planning using Teams, or you are not using Teams. Okay. So we are about around 70% has voted right now. And I see around about 90%.
Let's see the result. Just a second. Okay.
So 85% of all the attendees are using Teams right now, so perfect. And a short advice, if you're not using Teams right now, have a look on a governance tool before implementing it into your company, because if you're using Teams right now, you will have perhaps some issues with too much teams and and a lot of test teams and but I think all of you are interested in my slides, how to make a beginner's governance strategy, and yeah, let's start with that. So most of the companies in the last 6 or 9 months started with Teams just right now, and they have no governance strategy or training strategy. And what I saw in the last 50 governance workshops is that most of the companies have hundreds or 200s or 500s or 1,000 of teams, which has no naming convention, no life cycle, and it's really hard to organize all the teams right now. And the problem what the users have is that you have thousands of different teams. The numbers are growing and growing and growing because everyone in your organization can create a team right now. And what happens then is that you have a lot of duplicated teams and you have unclear names, and one of your files are stored in one team and the other files are stored in the other team. And right now there is no possibility that you can say, okay, I want 2 teams and merge it into one team. So the problem is that if you have uncontrolled growth in your Teams environment, that the users and of course the admins are not satisfied. So if you use Teams around about 6 or 9 months and you don't have a governance strategy, in the end you have no overview of your teams. And in the worst case, in your left navigation in Teams, you have more than 200 teams. And when you want to post a message or upload a document, you scroll in the left navigation and say, okay, where I have to store my document? I don't know. It's so many teams. It's too much for me. And of course, if you store content in teams which are not used anymore, the content is lost. You cannot find your documents anymore. Perhaps a team member is not included into the team, or you say, oh, okay, this team is not used anymore, and you want to delete it. And what happens then is that the acceptance drops to 0 because all of your users with so many teams, they don't know where to store the things, where to write the chat, and it's a very bad thing because people are not happy to use Teams anymore. Perhaps you are in the starting process with Teams, but think about 2 years or 3 years into the future, and the growth process is like now. You have more than 1,000 or 2,000 teams, and that is very the worst case, that nobody wants to use Teams anymore because there is no overview. For the management or the IT, of course, it's a waste of working time when you have a lot of tickets, or you have to work on your Teams environment in the Teams management administration page, and you say, okay, you have to call the Teams owner. Do you need that team anymore? Can I delete it? Can I archive it? And of course, your costs in the IT department will increase because you have to structure all your teams. You have to do your life cycle manually. And in the worst case, you have to rename every team. And if you have 500 teams without a naming convention, that is a lot of work. And if you don't tell your users that they are not allowed to rename their teams. You have to do that work every 3 weeks, 6 weeks, or 9 weeks. So a governance strategy is a good idea for using teams, or it is, of course, the best idea to implement a team's governance strategy from the beginning. But most of the companies, they started with teams in the Corona time, so they just activate all the licenses and say, okay, let's do it. And now they have a couple of teams, and most of the companies, they ask us how they can control their teams, and they can stop the creation process of teams from the users, because most of the companies, they want approval process. And because of most of the companies, they want to start very quickly with teams, I created a governance beginner's guide with 4 steps. And with that 4 steps, you have like a governance starter kit, which you can implement with our tool in 1 day. And then you have like a restricted creation. You can create some structure, for example, with templates, team templates. And of course, what you can define very easy and in a few minutes is a simple naming convention. And of course, a very, very important thing, perhaps the most important thing, is a lifecycle management, that you say, okay, you have a retention policy for a team like 180 days, 90 days, and 30 days. But let's go to the first step. The first step is that I say the best idea is that the people or the users in teams, they are not allowed to create a team or a group. So what you can do with PowerShell is that you can say, okay, let's deactivate the functionality that everyone can create a team without a template or without knowledge how to use teams, and then restrict the access for creating teams only for a group of admins. And what we do then is that we create a request form where the user can add the details, and like a script or the tool Teams Manager, which we developed the last months, can create the team based on a template after you have an approval process and some admins or a owner approved this request. The lifecycle management is very, very useful, because if you have teams like 4 years, 5 years, or 10 years, it is very, very important that teams are deleted or archived. So what you have to do is that, for example, you define an expiration date for each team. For example, for project, it expires after 180 days. And after that time, you ask the owner if he or she needs that team a longer time, and you get an answer like 6 months more or 12 months more. Archiving is very, very important, because if you archive a team, it is read-only, but you cannot see it in your left navigation in Teams. But if you want to use it, again, you can just restore your team from the archiving space, and you can work on it after some minutes. A team request is very, very useful, because the people, they think about what they want to do with their team before creating it, because they know there is an approver which has to approve it, and nobody creates a team with like test or bicycle ride or just holiday or something like that. And if you, for example, have teams for data exchange with external people, or for example, playground teams, there must be the possibility that teams can be deleted too. So Lifecycle must include a deletion process, because after 10 years of using Teams, like we have it in SharePoint, you have so much content and so much, for example, SharePoint sites or Teams, that there is no overview anymore. Naming convention is also an important thing in our governance strategy, because it's not only the name of the team, that the name is clear, or you can see on the first look that that is a project team and there are externals included. Perhaps you have a project number in your name. If you create a team, for example, with a planner and a OneNote, you need a naming convention also for the apps, because if every user creates a OneNote in the team, in the tabs, and everyone say, okay, that the name is OneNote, you have in your OneNote application hundreds of OneNotes with the name OneNote. And for the planner app, it is the same. You enter your planner app and you don't have exact names for the planner. It's only planner, 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 or tasks, 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 tasks. And nobody has an overview which planner is for which project or which department. So when you implement a governance strategy, think about planner naming convention, OneNote planning convention, for example, for pre and suffixes. And if you have a very good data quality in your Azure Active Directory, of course, you can use the attributes as well. And sometimes it is necessary to have a blacklist that some names in your company are not allowed in team names or OneNote or planner names. So before I want to talk about templates and how we are using templates in our governance strategy, I have another question for you, and we start a new poll. And the question is, if you you can read it by yourself, but is it useful to use templates in Teams? You know that Microsoft announced a template strategy as well in the community blog, and you have one or some more seconds to answer the questions. So I can see that the result is around about 80 to 20, so 80% of you say templating is a good idea, and 20% say no, it's not a good idea. So my opinion is that templates are very useful, but it's not useful to have like 20 templates or 30 templates or a template for everyone. Our strategy is that we have only like 3 templates or 5 templates for the whole organization. For example, for most of the templates are project templates, departments, topics. We have templates for studies. We have templates for external data exchange. And one of the most successful template is the playground or test template, because a lot of users are new in the Teams environment and they want to test it. What is possible, how it works. And what we implement in at our customers is that we have a test template which the user can use to create a new team. And after 30 days, the team is deleted and he can test everything. He knows how the governance life cycle is. For example, the expire date, the expire message. He can say, I needed 15 days more, and that the team is archived. He gets a message and then the team is deleted. So playground teams or test teams are a very good idea for the beginning. I don't know how we will see it in 1 year, when everyone knows what team is. But yeah, the idea of our tool, is that we define templates with a classification, and we can add some metadata in the future. And what I want to say is that the user, if the user say, okay, I want to have a new team, it's like a marketplace, like in Amazon. Okay, I will make a project, so I buy a project template, and that's it. So no, the idea is that a template has a predefined channel structure and a predefined tab structure. So the user can work from the beginning and don't have to think about, okay, which channels do I need, which tabs do I need, can I use a planner or some other task tool or a SharePoint list. So at all our projects we have templates, so that is a very, very good idea. Okay, and now I want to show you in a live demo how you can implement this governance strategy very, very fast. Yeah, if you are really fast and experienced in Microsoft Teams, I think you can implement a governance strategy in 2 hours, but let's have a look how it works first. Okay. So I share my desktop with you, and what you see here is the Teams tab of our tool Teams Manager. The Teams Manager is a tool which you can download from the Teams App Store. So if you have time after our webinar and you want to test it, it's so easy. You go here to the Teams App Store and you just type Teams Manager. And with one click, you can open it if you have already installed it, or the same button is install it. And the Teams Manager is then ready to use. So you have a governance and provisioning tool installed in 1 minute from the Teams App Store, and you are ready to go. So have a look in your Teams App Store, and then you can implement Teams request or Teams lifecycle really in a few minutes. So let's have a look what has the Teams Manager included. The Teams Manager includes a chatbot. You see here when a new request is created, you get a message here that you have to approve it, but only if you're added to the approvers. We have a tab where you can create and you can approve your request. So if you want to have, for example, a Teams request, you can say here, okay, let's add a new team. It's, for example, a private team. Then you can say, okay, I need a template. Here in our demo environment, we have a lot of templates. I would say 5 templates are enough for a company, but let's select the automotive template and say continue and give it a name and a description. And then you can add your members and of course an owner or a second owner. And then you need a comment because, for example, why you need the team. Because the approver will read that comment and he can say, okay, that's okay or not. And if you use classifications in your Teams environment, you can say, okay, confidential or public, and say, I want to create it. And what we tried is that the Teams Manager look and feel is completely the same look and feel like Microsoft Teams. So the users of Teams, they don't have to learn something new. It's really, yeah, it has the same look and feel, and we try to copy the dialogues or make it better than the normal dialogues. And what you see here now, because I am the approver as well, and now I can say, no, it's not a good idea, or yes, I can approve it. And I can have a look to all the metadata for the name, template, visibility, and if I want to change it, I can change it right now, and then I can add a new comment for the requester, and I say, okay, I approve it. And now in the backend, the Teams manager creates a new team based on a template, and add all the channels, private channels, the apps, the tabs, and of course the members, which I include in the people picker in my request dialog. We have a Teams tab in the top where you can see all your teams, and you can manage them here. And of course, if you want to create templates or you want to upload templates, it is very, very easy to create a team template. You can say, let's create a new one. And then the Teams manager creates you a new team, because templating is very easy in the Teams manager. There are no needs for scripting or like PowerShell scripting or JSON scripting. When you have your template, it is just a team. So you have a team where you configure all the stuff, you save it, and all the artifacts in your teams are saved in a template file, which is stored in the Teams manager. So perfect, the template is created. So, and if I want to modify the template, I go into the team, and for example, I add a channel. And I can add a tab. And I can add some more OneNotes or more channels, private channels. And most of the people, they say, okay, let's change the settings here for the members. And yeah, just configure your team, what you want to have it as a template. And when you're ready, you can go back to the Teams manager, go to the templates tab, search your template, and you can say here, save the template. And now the Harmony template is saved directly to the Teams manager. And after a few seconds, you can create a new team based on that Harmony template. So templating is very, very easy. Let's try it again. You can say, okay, add a request, private team. Then I search my template. And that's it. So we give the creation process some seconds, and the next step is that we have a look on the Teams manager settings, because now we have the approval process. It's directly implemented in the Teams manager. If you don't want to have an approval process, but you want to use the Teams templates, you just deactivate the approval, and the team is created automatically after your creation button. What you can also do is here, what you see is the naming conventions and the life cycle and the classifications. And we can have a short look into the naming conventions, for example, for the projects. And what you see here is that we have naming convention for the team name. For example, we add a P and an underline before the project team name. And what we want to have is that in the planner we use the team name and the template name, but that is only the internal name for the planner. If you go to the team, the tab in the top is the same name like planner or tasks. What I want to say is that the internal name for a OneNote file or the planner, it is very important that it is very well named, because you will not find it anymore if everything has the same name. And Lifecycle is also very easy to configure. You say here, for example, how many days you want to have it till it's archived, and how many days before you want to have a notification, for example, with a mail or with a notification from the Teams manager. And of course, you can activate the deletion process, or you can deactivate it, and you can say how many days after the archiving process you want to delete the team. So everything is possible. So you define your policies, and in the second step is that you define a policy package, which you have like a naming convention, a life cycle, and a classification. And the policy package has the name here project policy. And then in the last step is that you say, okay, I have my policy for projects here, and here is the execution definition. So you can define like a rule when you want to execute that policy on a team. So the idea is that you don't have a policy only on new teams, because what in the next release, we release a bot which gives you a questionnaire, and after the questionnaire, the Teams manager know which policy rule is the best for your team, and our tool will add to all your existing teams a policy. So with a life cycle, a naming convention, a classification, and all the other stuff like a two-owner policy, for example. And that's the idea how we want to implement a governance strategy into your team's environment. It's very, very easy to use, and it's only 10 minutes to install. And I think when you watch one of our training videos, it's between 2 hours or 4 hours configuration process, and then you can start with your first team request based on a template. So let's have a look on the teams. We see here our Harmony template test 1 is successfully, and we have the planner here, we have the channels, and when we go to the team settings, we see all our settings are configured. So there is no need for PowerShell or scripting for team templating. It's just configuring and save it in the Teams manager. So that's it. That is a short introduction in our governance tool. And yeah, if you want to try it, I show it to you again. Go to the Teams App Store and just type the name. You see here Teams is enough, and you can go and start with trying our Teams Manager in just a couple of seconds. So let's go to the PowerPoint again. And yeah, what I want to say is we have it. The Teams Manager is free for 30 days. So after the installation process, there is a short trial information form where you enter your data and your email address, and yeah, you can try it 30 days. And if you want to have more information or a demo, you can ask one of my colleagues in the sales departments, and of course they can help you with some configurations, or they give you a private demo. If you want to download it directly, here in my PowerPoint slide is the download link, and yeah, it's very, very easy to install, and it's a very, very good idea to implement governance with the Teams Manager. But of course, if you want to do it with Microsoft standards, you can use Power Apps and Flows and Microsoft Forms as well. But don't forget naming convention, lifecycle, team request, and templates. So that's it. That was a short introduction. I show you here my contact data, but you will receive the record of the webinar as well. And yeah, Harmony will send you all my data. But if you have questions, send an email to info@solutions2share.net, and we try to answer you in a couple of hours. So thank you very much. And
I have just one more, another poll question.
Exactly.
If you would like a free trial of Teams Manager or Harmony Enterprise, please select, you can select both of them.
Okay, in your application, you can ask some questions, and I try to answer all your questions. If there are too many questions, we try to answer all your questions with email, and we will send, if you send us your email address, then we try to answer your question after that webinar. So pop it out. Okay, perfect. So give me a second. There are a lot of questions. Okay, one of the questions is the licensing costs, and I think I have a PowerPoint presentation with me for that. Exactly. So the Teams Manager, we have 3 packages: the medium, small, and large package. You can start with $99 a month, and all the functionalities in every package are the same. So if you have 1,000 to 4,000 users, you have $399, and for between 250 and 1,000 users, we have $249 per month. So another question is if we install the Teams Manager trial version and if we can delete it later. Okay, if you delete it after you used it. So the Teams Manager is only an app, and it is completely programmed to the Microsoft standards, and we have an app certificate from Microsoft and Rencore, and you can install it very easy. And of course, there is an uninstall button which completely uninstall all the Teams Manager functionality to your environment, and all the teams which are created based on the Teams Manager, they are still there. So you can install and uninstall the Teams Manager without any problems in your tenant, and don't worry, there are no functionality that deletes your teams or something like that. So if you use it like for 2 years or something like that, it's possible, and after that you can deactivate it or what you want. But yeah, we know how it was with SharePoint. The collaboration manager exists now 9 years, and yeah, most of the companies they use it now, or they migrate to SharePoint Online. Another question is, can the template include additional apps? Yes, we can add some third-party apps or Microsoft apps. Just install the apps into the Teams template and save it. But be careful, because there are now 580 apps in the Teams App Store, and we cannot test every app. So you have to give it a try. If the app which you downloaded from the Teams App Store you can use it with a Teams Manager. So it is only viewing a list, or it is a complete separate app like Smartsheet. It is possible, but if you have some configuration in the tabs, I am not sure if the Teams Manager is able to save it. Okay. Another question I have about this new templating feature from Microsoft. What's the value of solution like yours versus those out-of-the-box templates coming soon in Office 365? So we are very happy that Microsoft is creating a templating feature, because it's very hard for us to use the healthcare or the school or university templates right now with the API, with a native API. And what we are doing right now is that we are planning to implement the Microsoft out-of-the-box templates in our solution. We are working with Microsoft templating, governance, and provisioning a long time. And in SharePoint, they added more and more features over the time. But for most of our customer, it wasn't enough, and they decided for the Teams Manager or the Collaboration Manager. For example, what we have is we can store the folder structure in the Files tab. What we are working on is that we provision the full SharePoint site in the backend. And yeah, what we do is that we make more functionality in the provisioning process, and don't forget the lifecycle, the naming convention, and the complete governance. There is nothing now what Microsoft offers for Teams governance. You have a governance in Azure Active Directory for Office 365 groups, which is okay, but it is not the same like you have it in the Teams Manager. Okay, another user asked what will happen when they install the Teams Manager trial and they delete it after the trial period. Nothing, the Teams Manager is gone. All your teams which you create with the Teams Manager trial are existing. So a good idea is that if you want to test an app, use a demo or a development tenant. But if you want to use it in your productive environment, we have that certificate, and we will not delete anything or modify anything. You can try it, and if you don't like it, just delete it. Nothing will happen. It's just like before. Another question is if the slides are available to download. I can share the slides with you, and I think Harmony will send you the slides via mail or send you a download link.
Yes, we are sending the recording of the webinar and the slideshow to anyone in a couple of days. Okay, Christian, do you want to answer any other questions, or
there are 20 more questions. I will answer them with mail.
Okay.
I think there is not enough time today to answer all the questions. Thank you for so many questions. When I receive the questions from Harmony, I will answer all of you and give you a short answer. But I think we have more than 21, and there's not enough time. Okay. So thank you for attending, and thank you that I can have that webinar today with you. And that's it. The Teams Manager Governance Guide.
Thank you, Christian, for a great presentation. And thanks all of you for joining us today. As we said, you will receive an email with a link to view this webinar again within a couple of days. And if we didn't answer any of your questions, Christian or someone from Solutions to Share will follow up with you via email. And we look forward to meeting you again at our next webinar. Goodbye.
Bye.